It all started when I got divorced. I got kicked out of my home. That's when things started getting really hard. I mean, it was a good thing because we were fighting a lot. He was drinking. So it's a good thing, but it's very hard to be a single mom. So sometimes we do struggle to have enough money to buy groceries. So I go to food banks, which I'm really grateful. I called earlier and you guys said we could just walk in. I don't know. I think so. Asian apple vinaigrette.
With buff burgers. So I have this boneless ground lamb leg.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That one. And
Can I get another hamburger?
I can only give you. Are they good? With bagels?
My kids love bagels. Oh no, do we have any more bags? It's okay.
I have 5. Use this one. Use this one.
My parents are getting older, they're in a nursing home, and it's a really big adjustment. We lost our house. Luckily, we're selling it to good friends, but for 2 years, my heart has been broken. It broke me, and this summer I'm getting stronger. So it's my resilience is coming through, and I can see how strong I am through hard times.
I got it.
See my white hair?
Yeah, you look great. Yeah.
I'm very gray. I get my hair dyed.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
When did you start?
Oh, that's cute. Coffee. Sandwiches.
Shall we do
Ooh,
it?
Maybe.
All right, do it.
But you're not hungry.
No, I just had lunch, but I can drink something with you.
Go check it out. All these new places. Well, the biggest thing has been my house in Maine. And I spent all year trying to think of a way to save it. And it's just heartbreaking. It's like, Maine's like, Bungalow Ridge is like my best friend. So that's the biggest thing that has been so hard for me and challenging to get through. But I feel like once I came up here for the summer, it's gotten easier. Once I'm here, it helps me accept things more. My mom was an amazing cook. She'd always make these beautiful meals, and we'd have big parties with all of our friends in the community. And we'd all go sit down at the dock and have drinks, and all the parents and the kids would be there and go swimming, just like we do now. Our house was always like my mom was the host a lot of the time. So there was always so many celebrations and eating lobster. And then when a couple of years ago, my parents had to stop coming because they were in a nursing home. So kind of that joy and that magic from growing up, disappeared over the years. And then this summer, it's like it really disappeared.
So it's been 40 years.
49 years. Yeah, 49 because I'm 49.
Oh
I was a
God.
baby. I was 3 months old when I came to Maine. My parents adopted me when I was 3 months old. So my parents adopted me June 24th, 1977, and they brought me right to Maine because it was the summer. And we stayed in the Todd cabin because our big house was being built. My parents would give me a bath in the sink, they said. I don't remember.
Oh, that's cute.
Then my dad built the big house over a year, and then we lived there. And it was much smaller. And then over the years, he made additions like the deck, the porch, the laundry room, the tool room.
You spend so much time on designing, maintaining the house, right?
I know. So I miss it there, but I was so grateful to have it in my life. 2 to 3 years ago, my mom got really sick and she almost died. She had kidney problems, and then she got sepsis and a big infection in her whole body. And she was in the hospital, and she looked like she was going to pass away. She really didn't look good. She was hallucinating because of the medicine they gave her, I think. And that was really hard to watch and scary. But then she got better. And then she started falling. And then my dad started declining last year. And he broke some bones, but he's falling.
Yeah.
A few months ago, he wasn't falling, ever. They need so much care. Like, my dad needs to be lifted out of bed. My mom does too, like 2 people. So it's just too hard to have them in our little cabin, We'd need like full-time nurses. So.
Tell me something about you discussed with them to send them to facility. You have to talk to them, and they have to say yes, right?
Yeah, my brother did a great job finding the places, and it was close by. He's been in charge of, the accounting and the payments, and we made a trust with the money,
Yeah.
their money, and he's been amazing with organizing everything, arranging hospice for my dad, which started a week or two ago.
Did your dad say no before you decided to send him to the?
He didn't even really know what was going on. But he was upset a year or two ago when we had to tell him that he couldn't drive anymore.
Oh.
He was really mad.
So
Losing his freedom, you know, because he got lost and he got confused when he was driving.
So is
He
it
got
like
into an accident.
based on the diagnosis, or you just tell him you cannot drive?
Well, he got into an accident.
Oh.
He went over the Newport Bridge and he didn't know how to get back. He asked a postal worker, like in a mail truck, how to get back, and then the postal worker was like, I'm going to take you back over the bridge and get back. And then in the same day, he got an accident.
Oh gosh.
So
Yeah.
not bad. He didn't get hurt, but we just knew that it was time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and he was very angry with me and Todd, and we just said the police took it away.
Did you?
I don't want him. I want my driving. I want to drive. I love driving. Felt so bad. He has a doctor, and they diagnosed him with dementia.
He did.
Yeah.
He did go
but-
to doctor.
And he
every
has
year.
bladder cancer, so he went to, is it a urologist? I took him a couple times.
Uh-huh. Do you think his temper also changed?
Yeah, it just slowly builds up. You know, and it looks at first like just forgetfulness, but then it,
Yeah, maybe. you
after a
thought-
while, you see it, their brain is changing, and that's just a natural aging process. It's the mind's way of slowly forgetting things and losing your eyesight a little because it's getting ready for your next life. And then some people are fine. I don't know why. Some people are clear, some people are not.
Genetic, and
Genetic.
also, and you are facing the worst stage right now because they are now in the nursing house and they need so much money. It's so expensive.
It's terrible.
Is there any way you can find a cheaper one?
The government looks back 5 years to see if you have any assets. So it makes you not qualify for 5 years. It's kind of complicated, but it's called a 5-year look back. So he's on the waiting list for the VA. That's totally free, right? So, but he's on a waiting list. The waiting lists are very long.
Oh, I see.
So, and it's kind of nice that my parents are together in the nursing home, although they don't do a lot
In the
together.
same, how much month for them?
I think it's $25,000 each a month.
For each?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what my brother said. I can't remember now.
I
So
thought
that's
it was
why we
like-
needed to sell our house. He had 3 houses,
Okay.
so it's
Alright.
expensive to have 3 houses.
Uh-huh. Did you sell other 2 already?
Yeah,
Alright.
Connecticut and Rhode Island,
Okay.
and then now Maine, but not the Todd cabin, so that's good. So even if we had to sell the Todd cabin, I'd still live up here in the summer. I'd find a way. So
You're adopted kid, and you feel very responsible to take care of your parents. Why?
take after them.
Yeah.
Well, they're my parents. They're the only parents I've ever known. Because we love my parents. I love them so much. They've given us everything. I mean, yeah, times were hard when you're growing up, you know, like times can be hard. But that's just part of life, you know. So we take care of our parents.
Were you
They
scared?
took care of us our whole lives. We have to give back, you know. Just comes naturally.
Are you scared one day they will be gone?
I'm not scared. I've
You're
watched
not?
them get older, and it's kind of beautiful. Even when they're losing their minds a little bit and not as clear, I just think it's such a natural process. It's kind of beautiful. You know, like I've watched 2 people die before, and it was beautiful. And instead of just, you know, like my age, I'm 49, just imagine having a heart attack and just keeling over. But watching them decline it's just beautiful to watch them. That's all I can say, really. It's not, like at first I was sad and I would cry when I would go there. And it's still emotional sometimes to see my dad just in the bed like a vegetable. But
Did you talk to him?
I don't like that part. No. Yeah, but he doesn't really engage in conversation that much. It's just kind of one-word answers like, oh, hi. And then kind of drifts off to watch the TV the nurse put on or something.
Does he recognize you?
He does.
He does.
He doesn't say Callie, but so, and I'm the only one that visits really, except for sometimes some friends from Maine will visit. Like the Proudies visited last week, 2 weeks ago, and that was so nice. And the Mayos visited over the year, and the Flintermans. But other than that, they don't have any visitors. My brother doesn't visit. He visits maybe twice, maybe 3 times a year. So I just feel very responsible.
To go
And
visit.
sometimes it's a lot. I wish I had more support to go see them. I feel like it's all on me with them, and then raising my kids. It's called the sandwich generation. You're smushed in between your parents and kids.
I have the same problem.
But at the same time, it makes me feel good that I can do it. It's like a challenge, and someday my kids will take care of me when I'm older, if I get to be old. And it's just, you do it, and then your kids hopefully learn to be good people and do it for you.
That's true.
My parents have instilled in me all the qualities. My mom always said never give up. So, and their strength getting through life, I think, has been instilled in me. And I always remember, don't give up, don't give up.
She said that?
Yeah. And then obviously all parents are driven to keep going by their children. That's one of the point of having children, that God made children, is just to keep you going even when you don't want to go anymore. You know, along with being on a bunch of medicines to help me feel better in my brain because I have depression really bad. So all those three things, parents, kids, and medication, are very, very important to me. So,
is there any click like you can recognize like I'm not doing well?
My therapist really helps me a lot. Her name is Trinette, and she's wonderful. I've been with her maybe a little over a year, and she helps me get to the hospital when I need to get there, because there's nothing I can do to make me feel better. I need to go to the hospital, get new medication, because it wears off after a while. And I've learned that it's okay to go. Some people need to have help and have a break. And my kids will stay with their dad if I go to the hospital. I went earlier this year.
So when was the first time you recognized you're depressed?
When I was like between 12 and 15, it got really bad. My birth mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And then she got cancer and she died at 55 years old. I know that much. So I think it's genetic.
And you know, for your whole life, maybe you have to be careful, right?
Yeah, so I have to go to the hospital a lot. But I've only been, usually it's 2 or 3 times a year, but then for 2 years I've only been 1 time. Because your medication wears off after a while. For some people it doesn't, but for me it does. Even if I, exercise, eat healthy, or try to be happy, for me, I'm not okay without medication.
You're lucky to find those.
Yeah, like a lot of them work for schizophrenia and bipolar. So, because I've had like little hallucinations before when I get really depressed. It's like seeing things, hearing things. That's how it gets really bad sometimes. But these help. My medicines help me prevent those things, or make them at least a little better. So I can't think clearly when I'm depressed. Everything's like jumbled. So when I'm on the medicines, it's such a relief because they make me be able to think and be organized in my head and function, and that's easier when I'm working at a job. I can't work when I'm not organized.
I admire you, like you're still so confident. Like every time I see you, you're very outstanding, super nice, right? And you talk about this like so normal, like just we have a cold, right? But it's actually a lot of struggling.
Is that my door?
I don't know. What happened?
Says the door has to
Oh, sorry. We were talking and I couldn't hear with the coffee maker. Oh, we got in trouble.
Oh, it's us.
So exciting.
There's a thing right there.
This is something I want to ask.
Yeah.
Like, as a mommy, like everyone has those moments,
Yeah.
right? And you always have to think about your kids because we're not only one. To have them see you're very bad. And how do you talk to them?
As they've gotten older, they ask me questions sometimes, like, Mommy, why do you get depressed? And we don't talk about it a whole lot, but now that Thomas is 17 and Anna's 11, I can kind of just wrap it up in a nutshell and say like a summary,
What did you say to them?
Like, yeah, I get depressed, I take medicine, sometimes I have to go to the hospital, and then I feel better, and they understand that. They don't really ask too many questions.
You wait for them to ask you.
Yeah, or I brought it up before, like when I get home from the hospital or if I haven't been feeling well. I'll just say I was not feeling well. I went to the doctor, hospital, and now I feel better. I make it very brief,
Have you ever like heard from them like they're worried about you? Like,
you can't use a cell phone in the hospital.
oh, I see.
They don't want you contacting anybody. But I try to ask if I can use a phone to call my kids and just check in maybe one time. It's a safe environment. And there's a great hospital in Providence called Butler Hospital that I go to sometimes. And they just give you a new medication or they increase the one you're on Sometimes I'm there for 2 weeks, you know, and that's usually about how much the insurance will pay, so they kick you out. But usually after 2 weeks of resting, and then the medication, and then some therapy and talking to the psychiatrist, then you feel better enough and you're ready to go home. After I had Anna, it started happening a lot. Like my body changed, my hormones, my brain changed.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, like when you give birth, you lose a lot of hormones. And some animals, they eat their placenta after they have a baby.
I heard about it.
Yeah, postpartum. Yeah.
Okay.
I did for both my kids.
Oh no.
But I've learned you have to ask for help. I always try to do things by myself, but sometimes I just have to reach out and ask for help. Like I'm not doing okay, just like everybody struggles in life.
Do you have some like very close friend you can call?
Yeah, I do.
You do.
My friend Jen is amazing. My friend Nina is amazing. My friend Trish and Natasha, those are my closest friends at home.
You call them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my therapist is really important because she really understands.
You have her personal number, you can just call her anytime?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Or text her,
Oh,
or I
that's
see her
nice.
on Tuesdays. So she'll pretty much tell me when I need to go. Yeah, so what I was saying is that it's scary. It was scary like 10 years ago when it started happening because it was so horrifying. You're like so not well, and then you get taken to this hospital. But then now, the last time I went in March/April, I realized like, oh, I get to rest now. Like I didn't feel as horrible as I did the last times, which was scary. Like I still felt horrible, but it was like, oh, okay. Sometimes when you're a mom, you just need a rest. I can sit in, they don't have couches, but I can just sit in the chair and do nothing if I want. And when you're a mom, that's like amazing. Like I don't have to go to work.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna rest my brain, recharge, you know. So
Do you feel like now you can handle stress better, or you feel still it's your subject?
it's a good question. I feel like as we all do as we get older, we get stronger and more wise. So I feel that.
My way to handle stress before was bad. I was eating a lot.
Yeah.
And well, now I try to leave the house. I try to just get some exercise outside.
I try to also. The only thing with the side effects with the medications I take are it makes me gain weight. And then then I get skinnier, then I gain weight again, then it's always back and
Unstable,
forth.
yeah.
So then when you're heavier, it's harder to exercise because you have more weight on you. So I haven't been very good at exercising, but when I get depressed or stressed like you, I try to get out of the house or go for a walk, walk the dog, you know, or go see friends. That always lifts me up, gives me more energy. Yeah, you have to keep going for your kids. Some people give up and they leave the world because they just want to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I have to keep going for my kids. I have to teach them. I have to make sure they're ready to be in the world as adults. You know, just like we all have to do as parents. Thomas had problems in-person school, bullying, fighting. But Thomas is doing so much better, and he likes being able to drive now, having the independence. Well, he didn't see his dad for about a year, maybe for a half an hour during the whole year. But he's making progress because since Christmas time, he's been seeing his dad every other weekend. Some weekends he skips because he doesn't want to go. He wants to be with his friends.
Did he ever talk about his dad with you?
He was very angry at his dad for a while.
No, but
I think he's been a little bit more understanding about his dad. I'm not sure if they have conversations about Bud being sick. I know that Anna does a little bit because she'll tell me, you know. So, I mean, I'm sure it's a really hard thing to watch your dad have cancer, and I don't honestly know how well he's doing or not well he's
very
doing
good.
because I don't talk to him, but I still care about him. You know, I hope he's going to be okay. I know some divorced people can be friends.
but
I'm ready to forgive.
you forgive.
Gotten mature.
Yeah.
Hopefully he would be too. But I don't know how it would be if we were friends. He didn't want to get divorced. He's angry, or he was angry. So
He must have very hard, difficult time.
I feel bad that he's alone. I'm not there to help him.
Take
Yeah.
take
I wish our marriage could have worked out, but it was just, it's
not
better
your
now.
fault.
But it's really hard being a single mom financially, having to pay the rent. Like this week I can't pay rent, you know. And then the child support got cut because he was on disability, and now he's back at work, but I'm still not getting, my lawyer said I can't get the full amount again. So it's hard just to be able to find groceries. I go to the food bank, and to pay rent, sometimes I tell my landlord I can't, then she gets mad at me, you know.
Before your dad was rich, right?
Yeah, my dad would pretty much gave me money my whole life.
Yeah.
And so that's been one of the challenges of me not being able to, like,
And you never feel
not
like
being
it's
good at financial responsibility and having to really support myself. So that's what I'm facing at 49 years old. My dad was very artsy. He would create things. He would build things. He wanted to go explore things. He wanted to go different places. There was an old amusement park or something, and I have pictures. I'll show you sometime. They're at my house. Probably the 70s, and the whole carousel was being taken apart. I don't know how they found this out,
like
but it was at Gus and Renee's hometown, Pepperell, Mass.
Uh-huh.
And so my parents decided with their friends they would buy the carousel. I don't know how many horses, and they split them up. My parents took like 4 or 5, and some
Wow.
other people took some.
Yeah.
And that's how we got the carousel houses. My dad mounted them on the ceiling, and
It's not easy.
yeah, it's like a swing.
need,
And
like-
who knows if it's really safe anymore, but Anna swings on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but that was such a magical part of
Yeah,
growing
that
up.
little details when I was sitting on the couch and thinking, wow, he really spoiled you. You're a little princess for him.
But it was kind of like, I feel like it was like modest spoiling. My dad had money. He never drove like a BMW. He just drove a Jeep. Yeah, he was the best dad. Still is. My mom was amazing. But a lot of my friends or family say he should have made a trust just so the house would be saved. And there's a lot of things. What if, you know. But we all make mistakes in our lives.
I know it's
So-
very hard for you these days when you're living next door and
Yeah.
seeing your house.
Yeah, but I'm getting used to it more. But there's anger, there's sadness, there's grief. There's a lot of emotions, but there's also happiness that I just could spend my life, half my life there. Because we love my parents. I love them so much. They've given us everything. I watched them get older, and it's kind of beautiful, even when they're losing their minds a little bit. And that's how we got the carousel houses. My dad mounted them on the ceiling. My dad was very artsy. He would create things. He would build things. He wanted to go explore things. He wanted to go different places. Yeah.
You like watching movies?
I love movies. I haven't been to a movie theater in a while except for kid movies.